quiet, but impossible to ignore. When this money comes, don't tell anyone. When the blessing finally appears, when the door that has been locked for years suddenly swings open, when the opportunities you prayed for finally start to flow, don't rush to announce it. Because some things that God gives you are meant to be protected in silence, not displayed in noise. Not every blessing is for public conversation. Some blessings are sacred. Some breakthroughs are so divine, so strategic, that even one careless word can invite opposition from those who were never meant to see what God is doing in you. When this money comes, when the abundance you've been sowing for finally starts to manifest, you must learn to walk quietly. Because silence is not secrecy. Silence is protection. Silence is maturity. Silence is wisdom. God blesses those who know when to speak and when to stay still. The problem with many people is that they destroy their own miracles by talking too soon. They announce a seed before it becomes a tree. They expose their promise before it takes root. And when the wrong eyes see it, envy begins to move. Words of jealousy begin to circulate. Negative energy begins to form around what God was doing privately. When God gives you a financial breakthrough, it is not a call to boast. It is a call to steward. It is not an invitation to show others what you have. It is a test to see if you can handle what you prayed for. God doesn't just bless your hands, He tests your heart. And He wants to know, will you be humble when the abundance arrives? Will you still walk quietly when the favor becomes visible? Because many people can handle poverty, but few can handle prosperity. Many are faithful when they have nothing, but they lose their balance when wealth arrives. God is not against money. He is against pride. He is not against success. He is against forgetfulness. When this money comes, remember who gave it to you. Remember the tears you cried in secret. Remember the nights you went hungry. Remember the prayers that you whispered when no one was watching. Remember how long it took for you to get here, because money is not just paper. It's a tool that tests the soul. It exposes what's inside you. It reveals whether your faith was genuine or if it was merely a desire for comfort. When this money comes, don't tell anyone, because some blessings are meant to be guarded until they are fully grown. When God begins to lift you, when the doors of financial increase begin to open, you must move in silence like a gardener tending a sacred field. You don't scream every time a seed sprouts. You nurture it quietly until it becomes strong enough to face the wind. There are some seasons where silence is not weakness. It is divine strategy. It's not about hiding out of fear. It's about protecting what God has entrusted to you from the noise that drains purpose. When God starts to multiply your resources, understand this: the same people who were comfortable with your struggle might become uncomfortable with your success. It's not that they hate you. It's that your elevation confronts their complacency. Your blessing reminds them of their delay. Your growth exposes their stagnation. That is why God tells you to move quietly. He wants you to build in peace, away from the opinions of those who can't handle the new version of you. Wealth is not just a reward. It is a responsibility. God doesn't send it to everyone, because not everyone is prepared to handle the weight that comes with it. There's a spiritual discipline required to carry abundance without being destroyed by it. If this message spoke to your spirit, like this video, subscribe for more daily motivation and divine wisdom from Myles Munroe's teachings, and comment, Amen, with your city name below if you're ready to walk in quiet abundance. Many people pray for financial freedom, but few are ready for the spiritual maturity that must come with it. Because money doesn't change who you are. It amplifies who you've always been. If your heart is selfish, wealth will magnify your greed. If your heart is humble, wealth will magnify your generosity. If you're reckless, it will magnify your carelessness. That's why when the money comes, you must not announce it. You must sit in silence and seek direction. Whisper, God, show me what to do with this blessing, so that it multiplies your purpose, not my ego. Because divine wealth has an assignment. It's not random. It comes to shift atmospheres, to restore dignity, to fund vision, and to heal generations. But that assignment can only be fulfilled if your first instinct is humility, not validation. Don't rush to prove to people who once ignored you that you've made it, because validation is temporary, but purpose is eternal. When the blessing arrives, you must understand timing. There's a difference between what is given and what is revealed. God may give you something now, but instruct you to hide it for a season. Not every harvest is ready for display. Some fruits must ripen in the dark. Some blessings must mature in silence. When you expose what God is still developing, you invite opposition that could have been avoided. Remember, it's easier to destroy a seed than to cut down a tree. That's why God says, wait. Let your wealth grow deep roots before you show its leaves. There will come a time when your success will be revealed. Not for your glory, but for His. But before that time, God will test your ability to keep secrets. He will test your discipline in silence. Can you handle the blessing privately without needing to prove it publicly? Can you stay humble while others speculate? Can you keep building while others demand explanations? Because your silence will separate you from the ordinary. When the money comes, don't let excitement make you careless. Many people lose what God gives them because they move too fast. They announce too early. They spend without purpose. They invest without discernment. They allow emotions to lead what should be guided by wisdom. But divine prosperity is not emotional. It is spiritual. It requires alignment, discipline, and prayer. Sit before God and let Him be your financial advisor. He knows where your wealth belongs. He knows who should and shouldn't benefit from it. He knows the traps that lie ahead, and if you remain still in His presence, He will guide you safely through. There's something sacred about silence in success. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that everything you have is borrowed breath, temporary stewardship. You are not the owner, you are the vessel. God gives, and He can take away. So walk softly with your blessing. Let your gratitude be private before it becomes public. Because when you learn to manage blessings in secret, God can trust you with greater abundance. When the money comes, people will notice the change without you saying a word. The peace in your presence will speak louder than any announcement. You will walk differently, think differently, and speak differently, not from pride, but from peace, because abundance shifts your atmosphere. God's blessing carries a fragrance that cannot be hidden. And yet, even when that fragrance fills the room, stay quiet. Move with grace. Let them wonder what changed. God sometimes hides you in plain sight. He allows your success to manifest quietly, so that only those meant to see it will see it. That's divine filtering. He's protecting you from wrong associations. Not everyone should have access to what He's building in your life. Some people are destined to celebrate your results, but cannot survive your process. So He conceals you, not to punish you, but to protect you. He hides what's fragile until it's strong enough to face exposure. When the money comes, build what lasts. Don't use it to prove a point. Use it to fulfill purpose. The world will tempt you to spend to be seen, but purpose teaches you to build to be remembered. If this message blessed your heart, like this video, subscribe for more daily motivation inspired by Myles Munroe, and comment, Amen. With your city name if you're ready to walk in silent abundance and divine purpose. God wants you to spend to be significant, not to be seen. There's a difference. The world wants you to show off. God wants you to sow into eternity. Every currency you receive carries a moral direction. It will either draw you closer to God or drift you away from Him, depending on your intent. If you want your wealth to remain, you must learn to circulate it with divine wisdom. Help quietly. Give silently. Support others without seeking attention. The greatest form of giving is when your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is doing. Because when you give in silence, you protect your blessing from pride. You disconnect your generosity from ego. You transform your giving from performance into worship. Every time you choose silence over show, humility over attention, heaven takes notice. The blessing of wealth is not random. It's a divine assignment. God sends resources through you to rebuild what was broken, restore what was lost, and heal what was wounded. But to sustain that flow, you must protect it from noise. Every time you speak unnecessarily about your blessings, you open a door for spiritual interference. You attract conversations that drain energy, eyes that bring envy, and voices that question your favor. That's why silence must become your armor. It shields your focus and preserves your peace. And when this wealth begins to transform your life, never apologize for it. Stay humble, but stay confident. You are not stealing. You are simply receiving what was always written for you. You prayed for this. You cried for this. You waited for this. But the reason you must not tell everyone is because not everyone understands the story behind your glory. They see the blessing, but not the battles you fought to reach it. They see the fruit, but not the fasting, the sacrifice, the lonely nights, and the faith that carried you through the wilderness. Some people will celebrate your outcome, but could never have survived your process. That's why when this money comes, keep it between you and God, because silence is your strategy of preservation. It protects your purpose. It guards your peace. There will be moments when God answers the prayers. You cried in secret and suddenly everything begins to shift. Doors that were locked begin to open. Favor appears from unexpected places. Resources start flowing like a river that had been waiting behind a dam. It will feel overwhelming. You'll want to shout, to tell everyone the storm is finally over. But that's not the time to speak. It's the time to listen. Because in your silence, God will whisper instructions for the next level of your blessing. The greatest mistake people make is celebrating too loudly. They confuse manifestation with completion. They think the blessing means the battle is over, when in truth, it means the battle has shifted. When money enters your life, new tests begin. Tests of loyalty, character, discipline, and heart. Before you were tested by lack. Now, you will be tested by abundance. Before you prayed to receive. Now, you must pray to manage. God doesn't give wealth just to elevate you. He gives it to evaluate you. Because prosperity is not proof of perfection. It's proof of responsibility. The question is not, can you earn it? It's, can you sustain it without losing your soul? Now you must pray to manage. And in that management lies your destiny. Because God doesn't only measure what He gives you. He measures what you keep sacred. There is something holy about discretion, something powerful about keeping certain things between you and God. When you speak too early, you awaken unseen forces that were never meant to perceive your light. There are invisible listeners, spiritual spectators, who respond to the vibrations of your words. When you speak carelessly, you reveal your location to the enemy. But when you remain silent, you stay hidden beneath God's divine covering. So when this money comes, let your gratitude be private. Bow your head. Go into your quiet space and pour out thanksgiving in whispers, not noise. Because gratitude is most powerful when it's pure. Not when it's performed. The world has trained people to make everything visible, their joy, their wealth, their plans. But God works through those who understand the value of secrecy. The quiet ones. The builders who need no applause. The dreamers who celebrate in their hearts while their lips stay still. Those are the people who cannot be touched by envy. Never underestimate the spirit of jealousy. It doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it flows from those who once prayed with you, those who sat at your table, those who held your hand in hard seasons. Jealousy doesn't have to hate you to harm you. It only needs to envy what you have. That's why God instructs you to stay silent. Not because others are evil, but because not everyone is spiritually mature enough to see your success without being changed by it. When this money comes, your spirit must remain grounded. Do not let comfort weaken your prayer life. Do not let prosperity dilute your discipline. Do not let ease silence your hunger for God, because wealth without worship becomes wilderness. Many lose themselves in abundance because they stop seeking the giver and start worshiping the gift. The moment you shift your focus from source to substance, your blessing begins to decay. You must never allow that to happen. Every increase must pull you closer to God, not push you away. Every new level must remind you that the source has not changed. Only the channel has. God gives wealth not to make you proud, but to make you useful. He blesses you so that you can become a vessel of provision, a channel of His generosity. But He will never entrust His resources to someone who seeks attention more than purpose. That is why silence is the sign that you are ready. Your restraint is proof of maturity. It shows heaven that you value the gift as a responsibility, not as decoration. It shows that you understand wealth is not a symbol, it's a mission. And when that blessing finally comes, you will notice something. The same world that once ignored you will start watching you. People will begin to ask questions. What changed? How did this happen? Where did all this come from? Some will be curious, others cautious, and a few envious, but you will know within your spirit that what they're witnessing is not luck. It's divine manifestation. The difference is, you no longer need to explain. Because when you've been trained by silence, results become your only announcement. They will test your generosity. They will analyze your lifestyle. Some will disguise curiosity as casual conversation. They'll ask, "How did you make it?" Not to learn, but to measure how close they can get to your blessing. That's why this next phase requires wisdom like a shield. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every smile deserves trust. Not every handshake deserves partnership. Silence will protect you from the traps that words can create. The silence God asks of you is not secrecy, born of fear. It's secrecy born of strategy. Because when you move in silence, you give God permission to move loudly. You create space for divine intervention. You stay unpredictable in a world obsessed with exposure. You become untraceable to those who seek to drain your energy or distract your purpose. Silence is the highest form of self-control, and in spiritual warfare, self-control is strength. When the money comes, use it to build structure, build systems that protect your peace. Don't let money control your time. Let your purpose control your money. Because money is not freedom. Discipline is. You can have millions in your hands and still be a prisoner of anxiety if your soul isn't anchored in God. But if your spirit is grounded, even a small income can feel like wealth. Because peace multiplies whatever you have. Do not let your new abundance become noise in your environment. True success is quiet because it doesn't need to shout. Let the quality of your life speak. Let the way you treat people speak. Let your generosity speak, not through loud announcements, but through silent transformation in the lives of others. God's richest servants are not the ones who advertise what they give. They're the ones who give quietly and trust God to multiply it. There's something majestic about quiet prosperity. When you learn to hold blessings in stillness, you align with divine rhythm. You become like the ocean, deep, vast, calm on the surface, yet powerful beneath. Shallow rivers make the most noise, deep waters remain still. When your wealth is rooted in God, you don't have to prove it. It carries a spiritual gravity that attracts opportunity without you ever having to chase it. Understand this. When God gives you increase, He also expects secrecy until the foundation is strong. You don't show a house before the roof is finished. You don't invite visitors into a construction zone. Likewise, when God is still building your financial stability, keep the door closed. Build quietly. Let the walls rise in silence. When the work is complete, those who are meant to see it will see it. And even then, you won't need to explain. Your fruit will speak for you. When this money comes, something inside you will shift. What once looked impossible will suddenly become possible. Your hands will carry power to create. Your words will carry weight to command. But with that power must come reverence. Because money amplifies the heart. And only a heart purified by God can handle prosperity without arrogance. Pray daily, "God, do not give me more than my humility can handle." That prayer will guard your soul. Because wealth without humility becomes a curse disguised as a blessing. Never forget, wealth is temporary, but wisdom is eternal. The goal is not just to become rich, but to become wise enough to stay blessed. Many people gain riches, but lose peace. They gain possessions, but lose purpose. They build empires, but destroy relationships. But the one who walks with God, the one who stays silent, disciplined, and obedient experiences wealth with peace, abundance with calm, and prosperity with purpose. And when this money comes, do not forget the poor. Remember the days when you had nothing. Remember the moments when you prayed for help, and no one came. Remember the nights when you were counting coins just to make it through. Let those memories keep your heart soft. Never let success make you blind to suffering. Because the true test of wealth is compassion. God blesses you to see if you can become an extension of His hand. A vessel that pours out mercy, provision, and kindness into a world that desperately needs it. When your hands stay open to give, heaven keeps them full to receive. When you keep that spirit of service alive, the flow of provision will never stop. Because divine wealth was never meant to rest. It was meant to flow through you. When this money comes, don't announce it. Don't broadcast it. Don't decorate it with noise. True prosperity doesn't crave attention. It carries presence. It's not loud, it's sacred. It's something you carry in your spirit long before it ever shows up in your hands. The car, the house, the brand, the bank account, those are reflections, not roots. The real prosperity begins the moment you realize that your relationship with God is the foundation of everything you'll ever have. When God decides to lift you financially, it's never to decorate your ego. It's to demonstrate His wisdom. His goal is not to make you worship money, but to make you understand the responsibility that comes with divine provision. That's why when this money comes, you must protect it not only from others, but from yourself. Because the greatest thief of destiny often lives within. Pride. The most dangerous voice that can sabotage your blessing is the one that whispers, "I earned this. I made this happen. I built this with my strength." The moment you start thinking that way, you have already begun drifting from the purpose of your prosperity. God never blesses you so that you can glorify yourself. He blesses you so that you can glorify Him through how you manage what He places in your hands. That's why humility must grow at the same speed as your wealth. The higher you rise, the lower you must bow. Gratitude keeps your spirit balanced when elevation comes. When this money comes, remember, God will not observe how loud you celebrate, but how wisely you manage. Because to Him, stewardship is worship. When you organize your finances with purpose, when you give with intention, when you spend with discipline, and when you plan with wisdom, you are not just budgeting, you are honoring God. Every decision becomes a form of praise that says, "Lord, I respect what you gave me. I honor the trust you placed in my hands." And when God sees that kind of reverence, He multiplies your resources beyond imagination. Many people pray for wealth, but few prepare for the character wealth demands. That's why sometimes the delay isn't denial, it's development. God withholds certain blessings, not because He's punishing you, but because He's preparing you. He wants to build your capacity before He builds your account. He strengthens your spirit before He increases your status. Because prosperity is not just about elevation, it's about endurance. When you rise, you will attract both admiration and attack. Prosperity draws both light and shadow. Some will love you for what you carry, others will despise you for the same reason. But if your foundation is God, you will remain unshaken. When this money comes, learn to guard your environment. Not everyone deserves access to your atmosphere. Some people carry words that sound sweet, but leak poison into your peace. Some connections may look divine, but drain your focus. Protect your peace like it's part of your inheritance, because it is. You can lose money and recover it, but once you lose peace, everything else loses meaning. So when God increases you, create distance between your abundance and their noise. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. Learn the holy art of quiet separation. Understand that wealth carries vibration. When you begin to prosper, it changes your frequency. You attract new people, new opportunities, and new challenges. And if you are not spiritually alert, you'll mistake distraction for destiny. This is why silence becomes your shield. It gives you room to discern who belongs in your new season and who doesn't. When God lifts you financially, it's not only to bless you, it's to teach you that giving is power. But even your giving must be guided by wisdom. Don't give because you want attention. Don't give because you want praise. Give because it aligns with divine purpose. Because some giving blesses, and some giving drains. As Myles Munroe once said, "The purpose of prosperity is not accumulation, it's distribution." True giving multiplies both seed and soul. You must learn to ask God where to sow. Because not every ground that looks green is fertile. Many have lost divine seed in emotional soil, simply because they moved by impulse instead of instruction. You can plant a powerful seed in poisoned ground if you don't seek divine direction first. That's why before you give, before you invest, before you expand, pause. Be still, silence your thoughts, and listen. The same God who gave you the wealth will give you the wisdom to place it where it multiplies goodness, not greed. And when this money comes, resist the temptation to prove anyone wrong. Don't spend your blessings trying to convince doubters that you made it. Don't use success as revenge. You owe no explanation to those who overlooked you. Your only obligation is to the God who sustained you when nobody else believed in you. The world measures success by visibility. God measures it by obedience. The world glorifies luxury. God values stewardship. The world celebrates showmanship. God honors discipline. When your blessings become visible, never forget the invisible moments that birthed them. The prayers that broke the ground, the waiting that stretched your patience, the faith that kept you standing, the tears that watered your dream. Gratitude keeps your heart tender, and a tender heart is the only soil where blessings can continue to grow. When gratitude fades, greed sneaks in. When humility dies, downfall begins. Many collapse under the very wealth they once prayed for because they forgot who carried them when they had nothing. That's why silence isn't just about keeping secrets from others, it's about keeping peace within yourself. It's the sacred discipline of enjoying what you have without needing to explain it. It's the quiet confidence that doesn't seek validation. That is spiritual maturity. When you no longer need applause to feel secure, when you no longer need to prove your blessing to believe it's real, that's when you are truly rich. Not when you can buy anything, but when nothing can buy you. When this money comes, learn the rhythm of spiritual balance. Save some with wisdom. Invest some with vision. Give some with love. Enjoy some with gratitude, but never worship any of it. Let money flow through your hands, not into your heart. Keep your heart free from greed and your spirit untied to numbers. Myles Munroe once said, "Money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master." God wants you to handle wealth like water, fluid, humble, adaptable, always flowing toward purpose. If ever you feel the urge to speak about your success, pause and pray. Ask yourself, what will this confession produce? If your words bring peace, speak. If they feed pride, remain silent. Because silence can protect what sound can expose. Your silence will confuse your enemies and preserve your destiny. Not every battle is fought with weapons. Some are won with wisdom. Silence is wisdom. Silence is armor. Silence is the evidence of trust, that your confidence is in God, not in applause. When God blesses you, your humility must grow deeper than your bank account. Stay approachable. Stay kind. Remember the days when you were ignored. Remember the nights when you were empty. Let those memories soften your heart, not harden it. Use your wealth to lift others quietly. You don't have to shout your generosity. Impact doesn't always make noise. The world doesn't need another loud, rich person. It needs silent healers, those who use what they have to bring light into dark places. Because true prosperity is not about being seen. It's about making a difference unseen. When this money comes, protect your spiritual routine. Comfort should never replace connection. Many lose the intimacy they once had with God the moment their hands become full. Their prayers shrink, their worship weakens, their dependence fades. They forget that the same God who provided the blessing must sustain it. Don't let that be you. Pray with the same fire and abundance that you had in adversity. The same way you cried in waiting. Cry in worship when receiving. Because wealth without worship becomes weight. It begins to crush instead of carry. When your resources multiply, your reverence must multiply too. For every increase in status, there must be a deeper surrender in spirit. God blesses you not to inflate your importance, but to expand your influence for good. Influence without integrity is corruption dressed as success. That's why your silence isn't just about privacy. It's about preserving purity. You cannot mix divine purpose with worldly pride and expect peace to remain. If you want your wealth to stay blessed, it must stay aligned with heaven's rhythm, not earth's vanity. When God sends increase, it is not just income, it is instruction. It's heaven saying, now manage this as my representative on earth. Handle it with reverence, with love, with wisdom. The wealth is not yours to flaunt, it's yours to steward. And when you prove faithful in that stewardship, more will come, because God always trusts those who protect what He provides. Let people wonder, let them guess. You owe no explanation for divine elevation. Those who need to know will see it in your discipline, not your display. The calmness in your spirit will say more than words ever could. The loudest sound of divine prosperity is peace, not performance. True wealth doesn't demand attention. It commands respect through quiet excellence. Understand this: when God blesses you, He is not only giving to you, He is giving through you. You become a channel of divine flow, a vessel through which heaven distributes goodness on earth. The moment you start to own the blessing, you block the flow. Ownership without worship leads to idolatry. But when you let your wealth flow through gratitude and service, you enter into the endless rhythm of divine provision. So when this money comes, don't tell anyone. Tell God, tell Him, I am ready to serve with this blessing. I will honor you with this abundance. I will remain silent when others boast, humble when others compare, grateful when others forget. That's how divine wealth endures. That's how peace remains unbroken. That's how you carry prosperity without losing your soul. Because at the end of the journey, prosperity that is anchored in presence becomes legacy, not noise. Wealth that flows through clean hands and a pure heart becomes worship. And that is the kind of success heaven celebrates. The kind that multiplies peace while it multiplies provision. When this money comes, your journey will not end, it will transform. You will realize that the blessing was never about possessions, it was always about position. God was positioning you to represent His kingdom in a world blinded by material noise. The true purpose of divine wealth is to restore order, to establish righteousness where greed once ruled, and to prove that prosperity and purity can exist together when the heart is anchored in God. You will walk into rooms where your presence will shift the atmosphere, not because of what you wear or what you own, but because of the calm authority that comes from divine alignment. That peace will become your fragrance. People will sense something different about you, a quiet power that does not need attention to be acknowledged. When this money comes, walk slowly, move with grace. Speak less, observe more. The spiritually immature rush to display what they have. The wise allow time to reveal what God is doing. Every step you take in abundance must still echo humility. Never let the crown make you forget the cross that built your character. There will be moments when wealth tries to pull you into performance, but your strength will be in stillness. Stay in the secret place. Stay in that posture of reverence where your identity is not determined by possessions, but by presence. That is how you keep your soul untouched, while handling treasures the world worships. God gives wealth as a testimony, not a trophy. It is a statement that His principles work, that diligence, faith, and obedience still produce fruit, but He will never allow His glory to be shared with pride. Every time He increases you, He also expects reflection. Reflection that points back to Him, that tells the story of His faithfulness through your stewardship. The more He gives, the more accountable you become. Divine abundance is not random privilege. It is sacred responsibility. You become the proof that prosperity without purpose leads to emptiness, but prosperity with purpose leads to eternal impact. When this money comes, your biggest mission will be preservation. Preserving your values, your focus, your gratitude. You must protect your inner peace with the same vigilance that others protect their assets. The enemy can't destroy what God gave you, but he can distract you into wasting it. That's why wisdom must sit at every table where decisions are made. Don't move from impulse, move from instruction. Don't react from emotion, respond from revelation. Your discernment will be your greatest currency. What you hear in prayer will protect what you hold in your hands. This is the season where spiritual maturity and financial manifestation must walk together. You cannot handle kingdom wealth with worldly patterns. The systems of heaven demand integrity, patience, and trust. You must remain teachable even in triumph. You must remain gentle even in greatness. Because wealth handled without worship becomes wilderness. Vast, impressive, but empty. God is not after your money. He's after your management. He wants to see whether you will build altars with your increase or monuments to yourself. And when this money comes, remember to pour back into people. Not through loud announcements, but through quiet transformation. Build opportunities. Heal systems. Fund purpose. Feed vision. Let your prosperity speak in policies, in scholarships, in shelters, in stories of lives restored. The true evidence of divine wealth is impact that outlives your name. Money is temporary, but the legacy of what you did with it can echo through generations. Let your giving become prophecy. Let your stewardship become ministry. Because in God's eyes, wealth is not measured by accumulation but by distribution, by how well you reflect His generosity on earth. As you walk through this new chapter, you will notice something changing within you. The anxiety that once drove you will fade. The need for validation will vanish. You will start to see wealth as energy, as purpose, as partnership with God. Your lifestyle will simplify even as your influence multiplies. You will find joy in balance, satisfaction in silence, and meaning in service. That's when you'll understand that you were never chasing money. You were being shaped for mastery. So when this money comes, carry it like oil, sacred, purposeful, and pure. Guard it from pride, from comparison, from waste. Let gratitude be your security system, and humility be your signature. Every day, return to the source, whisper your thanks in the quiet morning hours, and remember, what God gives you is not just a blessing, it's a calling. To handle it with wisdom, to multiply it with purpose, and to return it to Him in glory. Because in the end, divine wealth is not about what you own. It's about what owns you. If peace still owns your heart, if gratitude still rules your thoughts, if compassion still governs your hands, then you have succeeded in heaven's economy. And as you walk in that silence, may your abundance never shout, but may your life forever speak.